Everyone, thanks for joining us. This is Yield Talks on the Edge podcast. I'm DeFi Dad here with Nomadic. Every Friday, we host a live space to review new and interesting DeFi to spotlight what we believe is an on-chain opportunity more of you should know about. So today we're joined by Volmex founder Cole Kennelly. Volmex is the first and leading provider for crypto volatility indices, as well as other indices for digital assets such as Volmex Prime Rates, which is analogous to a LIBOR rate for crypto. Our colleagues at 4RC originally invested in Volmex in 2021, and after 4 years, I am very happy to say that the DeFi markets have grown and evolved to a degree that investors and traders are now begging for this product. I think it's a sign of DeFi maturing, and we are very excited to have Cole on today to break down why Volmex indices can be so advantageous and how we construct our portfolios. And even as DeFi users, how we can begin to look to them as signal in the market. So Cole, why don't we kick off with just a little bit more than what I shared on the background of Volmex? What is the origin story behind building Volmex?
Thanks, guys. Great to be here. Excited for the conversation today. So I've been excited to talk more about Volmex and all things that are coming soon. So I've been following the options market my entire life. My dad actually has spent about 30 years working at a couple different U.S. equity options exchanges, and so still works at an options exchange today. And I've been involved in the crypto market for a number of years now. I've actually been working in crypto startups for about 6.5 years. I was a second employee at a staking company called Staked US, which was acquired by Kraken. And so, as I sort of got more and more involved in the crypto derivatives landscape, I was following, using Deribit a bit, BitMEX, OKX back in the day. And I really saw this opportunity to build a crypto vol index like the VIX index, but for Bitcoin. And so that's kind of the origin of Volmex. I was doing a lot of trading in my personal account. I had traded some VIX products in my personal account as well, and really saw this opportunity to have this standard of a benchmark index as well as a tradable product standard in the crypto market. And so combination of options, crypto backgrounds led me to founding Volmex.
Yeah, cool. So I feel like, this discussion around volatility coming up a lot more with the emergence of all of these Bitcoin treasury companies. I think one notable person who references you guys a lot is Jeff Park at Bitwise. Can you maybe just speak to that relationship that seems to be forming between maybe this like emergence of Bitcoin treasury company like strategy and just like, I guess maybe the importance that people are realizing with volatility, and maybe I'm making a connection there that doesn't exist. But.
Yeah, great question. So a lot of these Bitcoin strategy companies are involved with various forms of yield generation. A lot of times that's involving options. And so basically, I think that the emergence of things like strategy and some other players, Metaplanet and the like, have engaged in various option strategies, which have probably suppressed volatility a little bit. So, or maybe in a little more than a little bit. And so, basically, they engage in these strategies that have implications on the vol market, the options market, where they're using certain structures to gain a yield on their Bitcoin, and so an in-kind Bitcoin yield. And so I think it's really interesting. Also the emergence of things like the iBIT ETF have had implications, right? I mean, there's more sophisticated structured products that can come into that are able to be created and structured now through the TradFi market on the back of these regulated products, whether they're Bitcoin treasury strategy companies or spot ETF options and ETFs and the like. And so it's a really interesting time. The crypto market is visibly becoming more institutional and growing up, but and this also has implications for crypto vol, crypto options, and brings certain flows into the market effectively.
Can you dumb down the importance of volatility for our listeners? Like, why does volatility make crypto so great? Or why do people love crypto for the volatility? The crypto UX is broken, and AI, you can't trust it. Let Magic Newton set you free. It puts financial freedom on autopilot. It does all the work for you 24/7. so you can go do what you want. This is the vision behind Magic Labs, the creators of embedded wallets. Used and backed by the best, see for yourself with a simpler crypto UX powered by verifiable AI agents. Get started at newton.xyz. Maple Finance is one of my favorite products in DeFi. It is a gateway to sustainable real yield powered by over $1 billion in AUM across USDC and BTC products. And now with SYRUPUSDC by Maple, anyone can earn institutional grade yield. Learn more at syrup.fi, and thanks to Maple for supporting us here at the Edge Podcast and Edge Newsletter.
Satoshi wanted blockchain to be fair. MEV corrupted the system. Bad actors extract billions, while users pay the price. MEV ends now. Introducing Fair, the first L1 blockchain to eliminate MEV using BYTE protocol. No front running, no sandwich attacks, no manipulation. Just fairness. Cryptographically guaranteed. Fair is for AI, for financial institutions, for scale, and for you. It's MEV free, confidential, and fast. Powered by BYTE protocol and FerrisDK. The future is fair.
Overwhelmed trying to manage your crypto and DeFi investments? Meet iYIELD, a free financial planning tool for crypto natives and yield farmers. iYIELD's dashboard compares returns from your DeFi positions side by side, providing clarity to help you make better decisions. iYIELD supports a growing list of over 16,000 tokens and 40 of the top DeFi and staking protocols across 17 blockchains, including Ethereum L2s. The best part is that iYIELD is 100% free, anonymous, and there are no ads. Check out iYIELD.com today to take control of your financial future. Hey folks, I wanted to tell you a bit about our sponsor, PYTH Oracles, your go-to source for smarter data to power smarter contracts. PYTH delivers real-time market data for crypto, equities, FX, and commodities to over 80 blockchains. With 120 plus major market participants like Jane Street, Binance, and CBOE, PYTH ensures secure, low-latency feeds trusted by 430 DeFi apps. You can learn more about PYTH by going to pyth.network, and thanks to the PYTH community for supporting us here at the Edge Podcast and Edge Newsletter.
Yeah, so, in the TradFi US equity market, the VIX index is a very prolific indicator and a very versatile product that powers a complex of derivative products, futures, options, ETPs, ETFs, OTC products, as well as an indicator that's very widely referred to in the financial media like CNBC and Bloomberg. And so crypto vol is at any given time, roughly 3 to 5 times greater than US equity vol, the S&P vol. And so bringing a similar primitive to the VIX, to the crypto market in the form of the BVIV index is very important because it provides, like a widely adopted indicator to, gauge volatility, expected risk in the market, right? So the BVIV index is basically the expected risk over the next 30 days. And so it's an indicator which tracks the expected levels of moves in the crypto market. And so it's based on, the options market. We aggregate a number of different exchanges like Deribit and OKX. And so this index provides, a standard for tracking volatility in digital asset space, crypto space. Across Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, we have 3 core indices on the implied vol side, BVIV, EVIV, and SVIV. BVIV is very versatile, right? It also is it's also a benchmark for a complex of tradable products. And so notably today, we have a perpetual future on Bitfinex on both the BVIV and EVIV index, where traders and investors can express a view on volatility purely. And so we're finding that, the BVIV is becoming the standard for Bitcoin volatility as the VIX index is a standard for S&P volatility. And so it's a very versatile product. It can be used for an indicator. The derivatives that are linked to it can be used for diversification, for hedging, for speculative strategies like playing the mean reversion. And so it's a very interesting space to be in, and crypto having higher implied vol than, US, equities is very notable.
Before we talk more about different ways to interpret the volatility indices and maybe some strategies that are popular among those that use Volmex products, can we just quickly give an overview of some of the other indices that you provide? I know one that really stuck out for us was the Volmex prime rate indices. So anyways, whatever sort of like high-level overview you can give us.
Yeah, so, at Volmex, we're kind of this emerging index conglomerate for the crypto market, which has a number of different indices in its wheelhouse. And so our flagship index is the BVIV, EVIV, SVIV indices, which are, effectively the VIX for the top crypto assets. BVIV being, widely adopted by TradingView, CoinMarketCap, Bitfinex, and a variety of others, the block. And so BVIV has found a lot of product market fit. We, have sort of ventured outside of just vol indices into becoming sort of a MSCI-like index conglomerate for the crypto market. And something that we saw that was, important and missing from the crypto market is, rates indices. And so in the U.S. equity market, there's an index called SOFR, which is the, the ubiquitous, interest rate index that sort of replaced the LIBOR index. So no such thing existed in the crypto market until the Volmex prime rate family was launched a couple months back. And so Volmex prime rates are effectively the cost of leverage, the cost of capital in the crypto ecosystem. So we have basically two indices which comprise this Volmex prime rate index. So there's a DeFi lending rate index, which basically measures the cost to borrow stablecoins across Aave, Morpho, and Compound in DeFi, versus the Bitcoin deposit rate. So basically, this is the cost to borrow stables against your Bitcoin on chain. It's weighted, on those different venues. We also have a funding rate index, which measures the funding rates across the various exchanges. And then there's a third index called the Volmex prime rate, which weights those two indices at 50-50. And so we've put together about 9 indices now, which, 3 for Solana, 3 for Bitcoin, and 3 for Ethereum, which, serve as these interest rates benchmarks for the crypto market. And so now Volmex has this leading vol index franchise for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. We're expanding in other types of vol indices, and we also have this rates index franchise, which has been growing. And there's a couple of exchanges that would like to list tradable products on it, as well as, folks using it as an indicator. And so, again, a very versatile product that can be used as a benchmark for derivatives, but can also be a very useful indicator to retail, pro-tail, institutional investors and traders.
Cole, you mentioned in there funding rate. I'm curious, can you perp long a funding rate? Is that like something that exists, or is that something that anybody has asked for before?
I think that's where the Volmex prime rate family is headed. There's been a couple exchanges who have expressed strong interest in listing futures, perpetual futures on this DeFi lending rate index. I think the funding rate index would also be a really cool product to be tradable in a perp wrapper. And so it's definitely something we can do and, partner with some of our partners on. It's not something that's been done today, but I think it would be really interesting. So we're quite excited about the prospect of that. And there's been some discussion around it.
Cole, who like the main users of these products? And apologies, my voice keeps cutting out here, but yeah, who's like your general user? I guess it's probably all over the map, because I guess TradingView could be considered a user. But yeah, maybe what does like retail usage activity look like here? And like, what kind of strategies are you seeing people employ? How are they using your suite of products within their portfolio of managing their other products?
So yeah, BVIV can be used by retail, pro-tail, institutional investors and traders as an indicator, right? So if you search for Bitcoin implied in TradingView or Ethereum implied, Solana implied, our indices are the top result. We're also the only implied vol index for Bitcoin and Ethereum available on CoinMarketCap. And so it's pretty widely adopted as an indicator that provides a gauge of expected risk, expected volatility in the crypto market. Again, retail, pro-tail, institutional investors and traders can also use the linked tradable products that today trade on Bitfinex, but soon trade on a bunch of other exchanges. And so, trading BVIV, EVIV, SVIV can be used for BVIV and EVIV really on Bitfinex by, various types of traders and investors for diversification, for hedging, right? So if you think the market's going to be fearful and vol is low, you could allocate to some BVIV contracts, and if vol spikes, you would, be able to profit. When vol spikes or also, sees like big sustained, various other, moves, there's a very persistent mean reversion, tendency of implied vol, right? So basically, if there's a big move up, it's going to revert to some sort of long-term, short-term, medium-term mean. And so traders are using it as a hedge. They're using it as a way to diversify. They're also using it as a way to speculate on, mean reversion and a pure way to do that, right? You can put on a similar exposure through a multi-legged option strategy, but this is a lot more, arduous and complicated, right? You're going to constantly need to rebalance and, to adjust your position. And so BVIV is a pure volatility instrument that makes it really easy to get the exposure to the Bitcoin 30-day implied vol. And so we're seeing a lot of traders, investors use it on Bitfinex. We're seeing a lot of folks use it as an indicator. And then as we list on more and more exchanges, I think that there will be more and more, trading volume and activity from different traders and investors.
Yeah, put simply, BVIV and these other indices like the EVIV and SVIV for SOL, these are some of the few instruments available to us in crypto where if the market is in, let's say, a downtrend, let's say like when Bitcoin started to sell off in, I think, January, February, you could potentially be betting on that volatility increasing. And if you consider the fact that everything's correlated in crypto, I mean, it would be very rare for you to be long any token that is going to be going up while Bitcoin is going down. So this is something that we've all been seeking. And that's, again, a really simple example of just some of the advantage, the value to these indices. But there's a lot more advanced portfolio construction that I anticipate, investors, traders will take advantage of, with products like this. Cole, you mentioned being able to trade perps with these indices soon. This is outside of like a Bitfinex. So Bitfinex has been the first partner to allow us to trade perps to get long or short the BVIV. What can you tell us about like what's next? Am I right to say Hyperliquid is the next most immediate place that we'll be able to trade with? We'll be able to get exposure then to something like a BVIV with perps?
Great question. So in short, we have a really big pipeline of exchanges that want to list these products. The market is becoming more institutional and people are ready for more sophisticated, novel index products, and BVIV and other Volmex indices are really well positioned here. And so especially as the perp landscape becomes extremely crowded, every exchange sort of needs a wedge and a way to be different. And so we have a lot of inbound from various centralized and decentralized exchanges that want to list these vol and other types of Volmex index products. So, we have recently there was an announcement where there was, the Gains ecosystem is going to be listing BVIV. That's public. There's a bunch of other centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges that we're, in touch with behind the scenes. Recently as well, there was the cat's out of the bag. There's this really cool new Hyperliquid proposal called HIP3, which basically says that, if you have a certain amount of hype, you can submit a proposal or you can list a market for like a non-standard coin or token. So there's another team called Unit, which I believe is testing like equity, indices on chain. And then we're one of the other teams that is testing HIP3 on testnet. So we're fortunate to be testing this out already. There's no official timeline on when this is going live, so not sure about that. And we're still working on, some of the logistics, but related to like the hype and whatnot. But there's a lot of folks in the Hyperliquid ecosystem who would really like to see the BVIV index listed on Hyperliquid. It offers something very unique. Hyperliquid's obviously been tremendously successful with its, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Sol, and all the other coins it lists. But I think that this HIP3 will usher in a new wave of growth for Hyperliquid and Volmex and allow us to get, distribution into the Hyperliquid exchange, and then also allow Hyperliquid traders retail and pro-tail traders and, institutional traders to access novel volatility instruments through Hyperliquid. And so HIP-3 is super promising. We're really excited to get involved with the Hyperliquid ecosystem. And I think, a couple of days ago, like someone from a trading firm posted a screenshot of us on testnet, and it got a lot of, buzz on Twitter. And so that was great to see. And so, I mean, kind of the usual suspects, right? If you think about the top 5 or 10 perp exchanges, really the goal is for BVIV to be on all of those and to be sort of ubiquitous across many different exchanges, many different, product wrappers, right? And so we want to be on the usual suspects, the largest decentralized and centralized exchanges that are kind of household names in crypto. And so we're, working hard to build out that sort of omnipresence for BVIV and be listed on many different exchanges. And Hyperliquid would certainly be one of the bigger ones. And that's been, I guess public now. I mean, you can find us on their testnet on HIP-3, testing. So super excited about Hyperliquid HIP-3. Nothing official there yet, but it would be really huge if we're able to get that over the line. And there's a lot of other exchanges. I mean, Gains as well, they're going live soon as well. As see a couple of people in the audience from the Gains ecosystem. So, I mean, again, they're doing really cool stuff with RWAs. And so we're really excited to partner up with a lot of different exchanges. And we have big plans, really.
Is that so Gains network, like G-Trade? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, G-Trade.
Oh, that's exciting. Oh, yeah. Great product builders there too.
Yeah, everyone keep an eye out for that. There's going to be an announcement going out soon about the go live there. So keep an eye out for G-Trade listing BVIV.
We've known you through Volmex now for like 4 or 5 years. You've become very popular now. Like there's demand for this product. That was not always the case. I guess, like, what can you tell us about just, building through the adversity of these, the crypto cycles and, building a product before I think the market was ready for it. I think you were really far ahead of where DeFi was. When you first launched Volmex, I was looking at Uniswap pools and trying to get exposure that way and just use like a swap. And now we're at a place where, we've got something like Hyperliquid that has trading volume that's, competing with the likes of centralized exchanges. So I guess, like, what advice would you offer to other founders who are building something that's new for us in DeFi, but maybe there isn't the demand there yet. Maybe the markets aren't quite ready for what they're building.
Yeah, I think, a successful company and product is always a confluence of the right team, the right product, the right timing, right? If you don't have one of those things, it's really tricky. And so, early on, I think the market was a little more focused on other verticals, swapping and, perps and whatnot. I think the options market has grown a lot in the last couple of years, right? So Deribit has grown to a tremendous size. Things like iBit now, are tradable in the US and have gotten quite big. Are actually about a third or between third and half the size of Deribit, depending when you look at it. And so the options market has grown a lot, which has provided a really nice backdrop for vol products to grow and become, more widely adopted in crypto. So I think that was kind of a major transformation. The options market grew. People always thought options were kind of played second fiddle to, perp products. But I think that, it's become really clear through like the recent Deribit acquisition and the largest M&A transaction in crypto history that options are a really important, product suite, for crypto. And so I think that's kind of the Volmex angle. I mean, generally, I think that founders, what's actually, differentiated for in a lot of times is just like pure grit, right? I mean, like there's so many projects which launch something, raise some money, it doesn't work out. The morale, becomes low, and then they sort of just, sort of give up or whatever. I think that there's very few founders that, just push and push and push and just keep building regardless and have a thesis. And so I think we've shown tremendous grit and have a lot of longevity in the space. And we have worked really hard to just cycle in, cycle out, just build a product that people want, and then, get the right distribution with TradingView, CoinMarketCap, Bitfinex, and kind of sort of just weather out the different cycles. So I think, we built something that we knew we wanted, that we knew our users wanted, and we just had a thesis and conviction in that, and it's worked out well. And so, it's tricky, right? I mean, like there's, the market changes, metas change, right? Like, what people want changes a bit, but if there's a good product that has a real need to exist, I mean, there's, if you keep pushing, I mean, somebody, whether it's the pioneer or the second or third player to do it, is going to win and going to, make it happen. And so we realized, the VIX was a very popular product, obviously, in the U.S. equity market, and have traded those type of products, and wanted to see something survive. I wanted to see something grow in the crypto market that was be built in the crypto market. It was very similar. I mean, crypto vol is, 3 to 5 times greater than equity vol. And so it's very intuitive that a product like this would do better or the same as the VIX product in the US equity market. And so I think founders should just, have grit and know that when they're building something, it's not going to be a straight path to product market fit. And obviously very small percentage of startups actually do work out. But, you only get that, product market fit if you have the grit. I mean, I guess there's certain, examples like Facebook or, a couple of startups that were just a hit right away. But often, startups need to go through sort of the gauntlet and, really, prove itself and just push and, have that longevity, mindset. I think I remember seeing something somewhere about like Figma, right? I mean, not a DeFi startup or anything, but Figma, I think, took 4 or 5 years to launch. And obviously, it's a, decacorn now. And so, I mean, like the founder just needs to have that conviction and, be building for the long term. And that's kind of, one of the distinguishing factors, I think, for a successful startup is like good product, good distribution, good team, good timing, but just, it might take 1, 2, 3, 5 years, in some cases longer. And so that's sort of my 2 cents on this and how we think about it at Volmex.
MANTLE is charting a course towards a future of enabling crypto access for everyone, with major endeavors to build MANTLE Banking and MANTLE Index 4. MANTLE Banking means a new crypto neobank that helps users spend, save, and invest across their fiat and crypto finances, all in one account. MANTLE Index 4 is a tokenized fund in partnership with one of the leading tokenization platforms in the market. You can think of MI4 as the S&P 500 of crypto. To learn more, check out group.mantle.xyz, and thanks to the MANTLE community for supporting us here at the Edge Podcast and Edge Newsletter.
Sliced, diced, baked in a pie, mashed into sauce, or straight from the tree, apples are pretty epic. But you know what's more epic? Paying for them with crypto. Borrow, earn, and pay with MOONWELL.
Hey folks, I want to tell you about our sponsor GEARBOX, the protocol that reimagines on-chain lending. With GEARBOX, you can access 10x credit across DeFi or lend for passive yields with single asset deposits and no impermanent loss. Users can access leverage to margin trade, stake, farm, and more. To learn more about GEARBOX, go to gearbox.fi. Say hello to Puffer UNIFI. Puffer Finance is expanding beyond native liquid restaking, with new products such as UNIFI-based ROLLUP and UNIFI Pre-Confirmations AVS. UNIFI is not just another L2. UNIFI is a based rollup, one that will solve L2 issues, such as slow withdrawals versus instant withdrawals with Puffer UNIFI. Puffer UNIFI is fast, capable of sub-second transactions. UNIFI also has boosted Puffer points, which means if you bridge assets, you earn boosted Puffer points and rewards from dApps on UNIFI. Puffer's core products mean a bright future for Ethereum. Learn more at puffer.fi. I do want to quickly transition, though, back to just any trends you're seeing in the volatility indexes. Basically, like what edge might we gain by looking at BVIV, EVIV, SVIV? Nomadic and I look at them pretty regularly. And just today, we were talking about the fact that I feel like not enough people appreciate that. I mean, as far as I can tell, the volatility on Bitcoin has decreased over the past like half year or so. And then meanwhile, ETH has been more volatile. And I think it's possible that Sol has been even more volatile, or or maybe equally as volatile as ETH. And again, like you could potentially gauge that just by looking at the markets day to day, but having something that you can actually measure it with, of like these indices, is super powerful. So anyways, are you seeing any trends there? Like anything you can comment on, like how we can gain some edge looking at these indices?
Yeah, something that comes to mind is the delta, or the spread between EVIV and BVIV. So when we started working on Volmex, the spread between EVIV and BVIV was quite wide, something like 20 to 30 vol points. With the advent of the Bitcoin ETF, there was a period of time where there was no ETH ETF news, and Bitcoin volatility saw a major rise, and to the point where for a small period of time, it actually inverted ETH vol, which is not very intuitive, right? Because ETH is a smaller asset, takes less amount of money to move it, move the price of it. Therefore, the implied vol really should be higher. And so this was very, counterintuitive, where you'd think that ETH vol would always be higher than Bitcoin vol for those reasons I mentioned. And so we noticed that, during the ETF approval cycle for Bitcoin, I guess, number of months back now, the BVIV actually inverted the EVIV. And then once the ETH news started, and then the spread became really small. Once the ETH news for the ETH ETF had sort of ramped up, there was a rise in ETH vol, and that spread kind of, became wider again. And so right now actually is the widest that ETH implied vol and Bitcoin implied vol spread has been since, really in the history of BVIV and EVIV. And so maybe since early 2022 or something like this. And so, it's really interesting. ETH vol is actually, quite a bit higher than Bitcoin vol right now. It's to the all-time high levels. And yeah, I mean, Solana, we have the SVIV index. I mean, I haven't tracked the delta between SVIV and EVIV and BVIV too closely, but recently. But yeah, I mean, Solana's doing great work, and it's cool to see that there's a options market around it. So yeah, that EVIV and BVIV spread is definitely notable. I would say vol is just sort of low right now, right? I mean, if I'm looking on TradingView real quick, 1 year ago, 6 months ago, vol was like a 60 or 70 handle. It's gradually sort of, drifted down to, mid to low 40s. I mean, I think that is partially due to, options strategies of some of these Bitcoin treasury companies suppressing vol, as well as maybe the advent of the iBIT options and similar, options strategies sort of suppressing vol as well. And so, yeah, it's interesting. Vol is kind of low right now. The spread between EVIV and BVIV is quite big. Just one more thing, actually, the BDLR index has been rising. I mean, as the market gets more and more bullish, the cost to borrow stable coins on chain has been rising. And so it's been interesting to see the rising borrow rates being quantified by the BDLR index. So we're quite excited to see people using these indices, for, as indicators, as tradable products. And, those are some insights into from where we sit.
What's the significance, you think, of seeing lending rates go up, or that prime rate index go up? And then give me an example of when it goes down, how might we interpret that?
Yeah, so I think the most obvious explanation is just the market's more bullish. There's more demand for stable coins being borrowed against, your Bitcoin, your Ethereum in something like Aave, Morpho, or Compound. And, basically there's just a rising cost of capital, right? I mean, when the market's bullish, people want to get leveraged, and they use these DeFi protocols to do that. They borrow, stable coins, and maybe use those stable coins to buy more Bitcoin, buy more Ethereum. And so I would just say it's pretty self-explanatory that, as the market gets more bullish, people demand more leverage, and then that's quantified in the BDLR, EDLR, SDLR indices that basically measure the cost of stablecoin borrow rates against your Bitcoin deposit rate on the leading lending protocols on these different networks. I mean, ETH is the Morpho, Aave, Compound, and then Sol, I think we're tracking Camino and Solend and a couple of others, Drift. And so, yeah, it's been interesting to see, you know, the cost of capital increasing as the market gets more bullish. It's pretty intuitive that would happen, but there was never sort of a good indicator for tracking that. And so excited about the Volmex Prime Rate Index franchise, and I think that they'll grow a lot. You know, it's interesting, there's no sort of exchange tradable rates products in crypto, really. I mean, there's things like Pendle and a couple of other different platforms, but there's no sort of like parallel to the CME's SOFR market, right? I mean, or the former like LIBOR index. And so I see this major opportunity to build a rates index franchise, just like we've done with Vol, and sort of make this ubiquitous, widely adopted rates product benchmark in the crypto space. And so, you know, quite optimistic about the outlook for BDLR over the next couple of months. I think it will be, you know, pretty well adopted in crypto.
Okay, so for those of us that mostly transact on-chain, is there any opportunity to call out for Volmex on-chain? Like if you go to volmex.finance and you click on Start Trading, it'll redirect you to Bitfinex where you can trade the BVIV. I'm not sure if you can access the other indices, but anyways, Cole, yeah, is there any opportunity on-chain or should we wait for this announcement with something like a Hyperliquid?
So yeah, nothing on chain or tradable for the Volmex Prime Rate indices yet. There's on Bitfinex, we have BVIV and EVIV, and I do think they would be interested in listing the Prime Rate indices and making rates tradable on Bitfinex, but nothing finalized there yet. So yeah, nothing yet, but there should be some listings coming. You know, like I was saying, there's a very active market. You know, the CME, the NYSE have SOFR derivative products, which have become very prolific in sort of the wake of the, you know, the LIBOR sort of demise. And so, yeah, I think there will definitely be, you know, rates products, which are tradable on chain, you know, futures on something like a Bitcoin DeFi lending rate index, or the Volmex Prime Rate Index, as well as, you know, other structures, options, or things like that. So just like we've done with BVIV, you know, we're building this, you know, ubiquitous, widely adopted standard where you ultimately will be able to find the BVIV index on many different exchanges. We're kind of doing something, replicating that playbook with the BDLR and BVPR indices. And so nothing on chain yet, but perhaps in the coming weeks and months.
Another one to keep a lookout for. So on June 3rd, G-Trade Gains Network tweeted out about this governance proposal passing to integrate BVIV and EVIV. So keep a lookout for that. You should follow Gains Network _IO for that. So that's one decentralized perps platform that I've enjoyed trading on as well. So I'm really excited for that, Cole. Okay, you tweeted not long ago hinting at, I believe, like a token coming to Solana. What can you share, if anything? Like, I guess, what do we know about a future Volmex token? And do I have that correct? Like, will it launch eventually on Solana? Also, is there any sort of farming or points program that we can participate in?
Yeah, so Volmex eventually will launch a Volmex token, which we're quite excited about, which will sort of supercharge the Volmex brand. We haven't announced any official details yet. We've been teasing it a bit, but we're really excited about Solana and, you know, the ecosystem there. Obviously, Ethereum is very special to me as well. I was, you know, very early to like DeFi, Uniswap, and really love, you know, ETH DeFi and L2s as well. So we think that the Volmex token should sort of be tradable on many different ecosystems. Also, you know, shout out to Hyperliquid. They're doing great. Excited to see more, you know, spot tokens on Hyperliquid. And so we'll share plans regarding the Volmex token in the coming weeks. Excited to get that out there. And I think it's going to be a big milestone for Volmex. So we've been running some quests and some points. There's a Volmex.Foundation, which has a points program running. And, you know, there's an opportunity to participate in the points program and get more involved in the Volmex ecosystem. And so super excited about that. It's going to be a big milestone. And, you know, the Volmex token will sort of supercharge the Volmex brand and have some, you know, functionality in the broader Volmex ecosystem. So we're focused on the product, growing BVIV, growing EVIV, growing the Volmex prime rate and Volmex implied volatility indice franchises. But the Volmex token is, will play a role in kind of supercharging the product suite. So super excited about that, and stay tuned for more details.
Yeah, love it when founders are able to establish product market fit and build, an engaged audience of users before having to launch a token. The token, to your point, should supercharge a brand. It should supercharge a product. It should, create an ability for users to be able to have a say in the future upgrades in the protocol. So anyways, it's something that we all talk about, and, you wish for the best builders out there, but most fail to achieve this. So congrats on that. And like I said, let's just wait for the billions to trade on chain here this year. One final question for you, Cole. What else can you tell us about the Volmex roadmap? Basically, is there anything we didn't get to cover here that you'd like to highlight, is coming this year for Volmex?
So it's been a great chat. I think that our main focus is definitely making the BVIV, EVIV indices, ubiquitous across many different exchanges. So getting listed on all of the top CeFi and DeFi exchanges with perps and, later options and, maybe tokenized products later, and having this complex of derivatives and tradable products around BVIV is, one of our main focuses. What's also interesting, and, don't have too much to share yet, and sort of, kind of hint where we're headed. I think the US market is obviously evolving a lot. It's the deepest and most liquid capital markets in the world. And so, I think that we should bring our Vol products to the US market in a big way. And so obviously perpetual futures are not tradable in the US right now. And so having, the different flavor of Vol product in the US might make a lot of sense. And so I think tapping in the US market is something that's big on our roadmap. And just kind of accelerating and keep doing what we're doing, right? Get BVIV listed everywhere, EVIV, Volmex prime rates, and then continuing to grow the Volmex awareness in the media, right? And financial media. We'd like to see BVIV accessible, or follow, tracked by things like Bloomberg, Reuters, and, the like. And so basically just making BVIV, solidifying, crystallizing the standard around BVIV as the sort of leading, volatility index for Bitcoin and Ethereum, and just sort of, keep doing what we're doing. And so that is how we think about the roadmap. And then there's a couple more things we have in the background, but not ready to share yet. So great question.
I think we've covered a lot of ground. So guys, I think this is a good place for us to start to wrap up. So first, I want to remind our listeners, they should learn more about Volmex by going to volmex.finance. They should bookmark charts.volmex.finance. That's, again, a tab that you should never close, and you should be able then to refer to all of this information through the different indices available through Volmex. You should follow Volmex Finance on X, follow Cole Got Tweets on X. We'll put that all into the show notes. And then Cole, thank you so much for coming on. Again, always a pleasure to get to talk with you about what you're building. It's really powerful to see someone, again, who stuck with it. And, you had an idea so many years ago, and I'm blown away by all the progress, and very proud that we were able to back you. But I'd like to say, throwing aside my bias as an investor, that we would have been so into this product regardless. It's such a cool product to see brought to the crypto space. And there's a reason that, people like Jeff Park from Bitwise are really excited for what you guys are building. But anyways, Cole, any final word for us?
Thanks for having me, guys. It's been great talking today. Like DeFi Dad said, follow Volmex on Twitter, Volmex Finance. Check out our website, volmex.finance, charts.volmex Finance, and definitely add BVIV, EVIV, SVIV to your TradingView watch list, as well as the prime rates. And so search for Volmex on TradingView. You'll see that we have over 40 or 50 indices available on TradingView. We have some really big announcements coming over the next couple of weeks and months. And so definitely, again, to give us a follow on Twitter, turn on notifications, And yeah, stay in the loop with what we're building. Really excited about all the progress. We've been pushing really hard. We've built a great product with a great team and the right timing and the right distribution. And so I think that the market is really ready for this. And Volmex is at this inflection point where we're about to see a massive growth from a lot of the exchange listings and other collaborations coming. And so great to be here today. Thanks so much for having me. Thanks for the support from 4RC. You guys are awesome, and really excited to keep building together, and let's take Volmex to the next level. So cheers, guys. Talk soon, and looking forward to the next one.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. To stay up to date with future episodes, plus get expert tips, strategies, and exclusive content, subscribe to our free newsletter at the-edge.xyz.